I'm unmuting,
Okay.
so y'all can say hi. There
Hi,
are
everybody.
people on the webinar right now.
All right, we are, give us about 2 minutes. Garbo just got here, so give her time to breathe a little bit. She got lost in the elevator, so. Wrong side. Wrong side of the elevator. That's right. The other side. I have no idea how you got here, but you're here. So we're glad. Wonderful.
Okay, and I'm actually about to stream it on Facebook
All
also,
right.
believe it or not. So once I go live, you'll have to say hi, maybe.
Okay. Hello.
How are you?
Sorry, we're a little late.
Mimi, say hi to Facebook.
Hello, Facebook. We will be starting in just a few minutes. Oh, they are.
Okay. Yes.
Oh, I'll show. It's okay. Make sure that it's. Okay, I think we can go ahead and get started. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the folks in person. Typically on a pre-COVID days, we usually have 30 to 50 people here. But so thank you for being here. We are going to start growing our attendance in person, starting with you guys. So thank you, Zoom and Facebook, for attending tonight. Happy Wednesday and rainy Wednesday, that is. And I wanted to welcome our guest, Garbo Hearne. So before we get started, we wanted to do our advertising. We have to thank our sponsors, right? So thank you to Simmons Bank, Frost Accounting Firm, Wright, Lindsay and Jennings, and Little Rock Regional Chamber of Commerce. They are wonderful partners, and they help us with all the things that we do here for the entrepreneurs in Central Arkansas. They help us put together educational programs, collaboration, programs, and also accelerator programs around the state. One of the things that we wanted to talk about, just 2 more things before we hear from Garbo. We have 2 events coming up this Friday. Please sign up. One of them is we have a monthly VC Health, Mental Health Series. This Friday, we are featuring Lorenzo Lewis. He is pretty much, a famous guy, and he is helping men of color talk about mental health. So that will be very interesting because he's doing this program and training barbers to talk, to kind of talk to barbers about how to identify some mental health issues and what do they do and what resources do they need to point the guys to. Also, November 11th, it's Pitch and Pint. We have 8 participants in our accelerator program. They will be pitching for cash awards. So be sure to go ahead and register because we have an early bird special. That will be down the street over at Brewski's. And that typically happens in the evening. Brewski's, we call it Pitch and Pint because they have to have a little bit of a, drink before they get up on stage. But it's always so much fun, so please. So welcome, Garbo. Garbo is an old friend, not old, a longtime friend of mine. And I don't mean old, a longtime friend of mine. I want to welcome her here. She is a lifelong learner and the owner of Pyramid Art Books and Custom Framing, Hearne Art of Little Rock. She has done so much. She is so hard to get a hold of because she is all over the place. She is not only statewide renowned, but also renowned in the state, in the nation when it comes to Black culture and art. So welcome, Garbo. So let's talk about who is Garbo. Let's talk about that a little bit.
I'm a mother my wife, my daughter, sister, outside of my business. I'm a volunteer side, but my focus is Black culture, literacy, and fine art.
There's a lot of things that Garbo's going to talk about today, so we're going to unpack all that. Starting with you were a nurse. That's what you were trained to do. So talk about a little bit of your journey as an entrepreneur from being a nurse to this, this entrepreneur of books and art.
Well, I'm still a nurse.
Yep.
Once you train a nurse, you have a license. I still have my license. I still use it from time to time. That's lifelong training is never figured out. So I've always identified myself as a nurse. I pivoted to another career 5 years into that to open a business with the focus of African American art through fine art, prints and fine art. And then we grew and custom framing and literature. We also, now I'm an appraiser and we have auctions. My partner, Garbo Hearne, he's been, I guess, pivotal in the whole experience of opening a business because he moved here from California and he was exposed to art because he lived with the art professor in undergraduate school at Chico State in California. So he came here with an appreciation for art, and there was nothing here that filled that niche. So we were challenged by an artist in Memphis to open a gallery. So, well, don't complain, do something about it. So I was three-quarters of the way into my second pregnancy. I had a 9-month-old son. I said, well, what do I have to lose? I'm off from work right now. So why don't we just do it? So his responsibility was to create the space. My responsibility was to go figure out where the art was. So I did that. I ventured to other states and I went to other galleries that focused on Black culture and collaborated with them, got the information I needed, came back, realized that you cannot put anything on the wall without putting a frame on.
Yeah, true.
So I figured that out too. I went to a youth framing and I learned how to frame. And of course, they were very thoughtful and helpful to me because here I am, 7 to 8 months pregnant. With 30 pieces of art to frame. And they helped me and I got it. We opened on the corner of 12th and Fair Park. We had my husband also realized that books are very important in anything you do. So we partnered, we convinced Genesis Bookstore, which was a Christian bookstore, Judy and Louis Carlock, to move beside us. So we opened together, and that was really a great experience. We opened with Prince, and finally, this is the era. This was in June of 1988. So this was the era of the Cosby Show.
Oh, yes.
So everybody, Cosby's, they, as a family, they were a power couple, and on the walls of their homes was Black art. So that became a trend, and so they were, I guess, our biggest, if we could say, advertisement. People say they want to be like the Cosby, but I think we sold. There was a piece called The Funeral Procession. Everybody wanted that piece. I had sold it with my eyes closed. But it was interesting because from there I learned the importance of customer service because they would say, well, I like it, but I wish they had a purple mat on it. I said, I can do that. Right? So I closed my business and I went over to frame it and I fixed it. So we had that sale, and then Archie is very innovative. He found the frame shop that was going out of business, so he decided to invest in their equipment, and he brought the frame to me because he said that makes sense. See, for you to be leaving your business, going to another business, so you just need to do it here. But what he didn't know was that they really did all the work. I just put it together. So then he decided, well, this couldn't be that hard. So he became my assistant. Well, that didn't work out.
So,
Because I was like, that's really not right, you know, and so, you know, we were blessed to move to another location. We were actually paid to leave because they sold the land. And so they paid us out of our lease and we were able to move to Main Street. And on Main Street, we were able to, we met a young man that was a freshman at Philadelphia College. And we taught him how to frame, and he really had an eye for detail, and, you know, so that worked out. But that saved the marriage. 'Cause I was
right.
like, I'm working right here, so, at any rate, so we understood that it's all about making sure you pivot to what your customer needs. And also we, even on 12th Street, we showed fine art, we showed the work of A.J. Smith. And that was really exciting because he's a big friend of the family, and we continue to grow that part of our business. We met people, we traveled, we met Frank Frazier in Dallas, and he pretty much introduced us to just about everybody in the fine art world because he was like, fine art, black art, Arkansas, and, you know, he was just kind of amazed because we were the only business at the time that had the focus of black culture.
Were you the only business in Arkansas or pretty much in the, region?
Well, pretty much in Arkansas. Definitely, I would say Little Rock for sure, Central Arkansas for sure. I'm pretty sure that Pine loved having an HBC, and there was a bookstore there, I believe. But in Central Arkansas, we were pretty much it.
What does Archie do?
What does he do? On the side job, he's a physician.
Yes. That's the
He's a
funny thing.
family practice physician who really cares about his patients. He's one of those doctors from birth to death. And, you know, he's been doing this for almost 40 years, so he can pretty much tell you what's going on and get you to the right person if he doesn't know. So he's a very good doctor, but he's very innovative and loves the arts, and he's really been a good partner.
So you were talking about a Memphis artist. Talk a little bit about, is that what started you and how did you know this Memphis artist? And a little bit more about, how Archie talked you into going from being a nurse into doing this thing that you are, really great at, and you're really making a big difference when it comes to educating us about Black art.
Well, we actually met Kenneth Williamson because he had a car that Archie wanted. It was a baby blue Rolls Royce. I was like, why? They traded cars. He got the Rolls Royce and he got the old Mercedes. It was this car thing. But he was actually an excellent artist who was well known in Memphis. And he said, there's nothing in Little Rock. It's a gold mine, Arkansas. They deserve to know that Black artists create amazing art. And if you don't do it, who's going to do it? So, I was very, I guess, fearless at the time. I didn't think about that I would probably never go back to nursing. I figured, I have 2 small children and I want to raise my own children, and working in intensive care or at any doctor's office, you don't call and say, my baby's sick. They say, take the babysitter. So I wanted to take care of my children. So I had my children with me at work. So that was important to me, to be that well-rounded family, because he was very busy. So I said, one person has to be at home there with the kids. And this is a job that, although it's very important, but it's not life or death. Right. In a sense, if you come to my business and I'm not there, you're either gonna come back, you're gonna understand, but if you're in intensive care unit and I'm not there and I'm supposed to be there, that's a problem. So in terms of priority, my family became my priority. And this was something that was very important to Archie, so I definitely wanted to make it work. And then I realized when we moved to Main Street, it was a much larger space. It was the old Madison Guarantee Bank building, beautiful building right now. Vacant. It's an architect office. But Archie decided we don't have a bookstore because Genesis went on 12th Street. They didn't want to come downtown because nothing was really happening on Main Street at the time. We were next door to Juanita's. So the bar just didn't really work right for a Christian bookstore. So I truly understand. So he said, okay, well, we'll lease the building next door and we'll call that Main Street Bookstore. So he decided, I'm gonna run a bookstore next door. And he went out and figured out how to purchase books and hire the staff. And he was like the mini Barnes and Noble. I was over here with the art, but I realized that he wasn't gonna be able to do that. So I went over and started to help him out with that. And realized that the only section of the books that were selling were self-published authors, which were people in the community, and books by Black authors. So I said, we're just gonna tone this down a bit, bring all the books, because I can't watch the kids at the store, come over here and do all this too. So we moved the books to Pyramid Gallery, so we became Pyramid Gallery Books. So that's that story. And Creative Graphics, which is a graphic design business that helped us, make sure our look was right. They moved it next door. So it really worked out, and we worked out together. But just understanding that move and what's really working and what's not. One of our first authors was Elan Harris. At the time, he had just quit his job at IBM. He was reading his first book, and he was actually selling books himself out of the back of his car. So I was like, well, you should do that. Come and let's have a book signing. And that relationship for us to be a very good one, because he became a New York Times bestselling author.
That's exactly right.
And he demanded that all of his books were to open in Little Rock. So he would make them fly in here, and we had, wherever we were, he would always start at Pyramid. He did go to Barton, of course, but we had lines out the door, and it was really a great experience. So, when we understand, self-published authors, everybody's got a book, and who knows what's going to take off. But we are a platform for local authors, regional, national authors who are able to forge that whole support.
That's awesome. So Archie has the crazy ideas, but you make it work.
Well, I would say that, but it's just a way of, he has to focus, of course, on his business, of course, but he has great ideas, but in terms of actually the logistics of it all, I kind of come in and help that make that happen.
So from Main Street, you moved to the new River Market back in the days. Talk about how that journey.
How that transition. So we were in that building, and it was kind of old, kind of creaky. There were things in the ceiling. I was like, oh, this is not working.
At that time, I think you guys remember that the River Market was still very, very young.
Yeah,
So there's
nobody
still,
was there.
yeah, nobody was there.
Right. And the only reason why we were there is because we had decided we wanted to build a building on 14th and Broadway. The bank said, no, I don't think so. This idea is not really something that we know is going to take on. You're young in that, so they didn't support it. So we put a sign on our building for sale, and the building sold. We got to take the sign off of it.
Oh my.
It's like, oh my God, I have no leaving this space. You have to find something. I want a new space, and I want to build it and make it my own. So you just gonna have to figure out how not to sell this building unless you can figure it out. So Charles Morat was our realtor, and he took us into the River Market. So it was kind of pretty much empty. Museum of Discovery wasn't there. There was a restaurant. The River Market hadn't really quite opened yet. But when I walked in that building, the museum center, I could see myself on that first floor, and I said, okay, I'll take this. And they were like, well, really, we're gonna lease this to the lawyers. So do you have a deposit? And I said, no. And I said, well, I have one right here. And I gave them a check. And they said, well, how much do you want? And I said, well, I want 2,500 square feet. So I'm gonna build my frame shop. I'm gonna separate the books and the art, and I'm going to focus on fine art because, we were here, I think it was 98, 99. I think that Prince had caught on, Walmart, Target, JCPenney's, they were selling the same thing we were. And of course, that market, they're going to do it bigger, better, and cheaper because of who they are. So I had also realized during that time that fine art is an investment. It builds generational wealth. I have met so many amazing artists that did not have a platform here in Arkansas. So I said, why don't I focus on something that if you don't have a relationship with this artist, you're not going to be able to acquire. And you bring the artist in and you make that relationship, it's about relationship building. And when people buy fine art, it's about beautifying their home. It's an investment. I mean, it's almost a sin to sell someone a $500 frame on a $50 frame. I mean, and it happens. I mean, and that happens with decorative art. But if you have the needs to spend that much money on a frame, then you need to be educated as to what else is out there for you. I believe that we've done a good job of teaching people and engaging people to figure out what they want to put on their walls. Because I don't consider myself a salesperson. I think that I'm more of a facilitator. I work with probably over 60 to 75 artists, ranging from street artists, emerging, mid-career to master artists. I mean, it's kind of, when you walk in, if you don't see something you like, you don't like art. But it's the whole thing of reaching people where they are. And, when people make art a priority in their life, then they come to you. They know what they're seeking. They put themselves in a budget. And, we work from there. Once they meet the artist, they build that relationship. I encourage them to, when they go to that particular city, to go visit the art studio. So it's kind of a relationship building piece. And then, of course, if you're not interested in fine art, we still help you as well. So it's important to us that you start somewhere. I mean, your first car is not going to be a Mercedes. It might be. I mean, but I mean, if you think about the same thing, right? You move up as your pocket, as you make more money, your taste changes. So we're part of that experience.
You're also educating the young folks and making sure that they are, being exposed to art and literature at a very young age. So talk a little bit about some of the programs that you do to accomplish that.
Well, I think during the pandemic, Zoom has really been our friend. I know people are on Zoom now. We are able to reach a larger audience. And from, we do a story time, we have a baobab tree. We talk to artists, authors from all over the country to share their stories. And then before the pandemic, we would also bring them in. And once every other Saturday, we bring Girl Scout troops in. Students reading their own books. So we try to just kind of mold whatever program that is needed. So I have a very creative volunteer staff and say, okay, now what is it you want to do now? And we just make it happen. So like right now we're working with volunteers in public schools with the Little Rock School District. On the 16th of November, they'll have a reading day. And, they're trying to get more books of culture into the school, so they're allowing people to donate books. So we're a drop-off partner for that. We're starting to work with the Storybook Project, which will help incarcerated mothers and fathers read to their children. So they're helping, we're helping them get books so they allow the parent they take the parent reading, and then they give the books to the child, and they can hear the voice of the parent when they read the book. So that's really important and something I'm really excited about.
That's a lot. You're doing a lot. We know that the governor is assigned you to some kind of a commission or something like that to make sure that your work and what you're doing is amplified and try to get all the art councils and all that stuff to take their programs to more people statewide. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, for many years, I was on the Arkansas Humanities Council and then the Arts Council, which I represented District 6. And then from there, I became a member of the Kansas for the Arts. And I was co-chair in bringing that organization to life. because the importance of advocacy for the arts are everything. I mean, you know, you have people dancing, singing,
Sure.
you know, that's the visual arts, all of that, but the arts are, I mean, think about your glasses. Who designed that? An artist. An artist. I mean,
Right.
think about your hair. Do you want to go to someone who's not creative to do your hair? Definitely not.
Definitely
Your
not.
makeup, everything that the basis of humanity depends on the arts and creativity. And if you think about what allowed us to make it through the pandemic was the arts. I mean, it's always someone giving you some kind of creative spirit with the arts that really kept people motivated and moving. It was the arts that kept people. So understanding the economic development and what the arts do for the state of Arkansas is what our goal is now, is to bring that to the forefront so that we don't lose arts education. Because you know, when things go bad, what's the first thing you want to cut? It's the arts. But if you don't train people to use both sides of their brain to get their creativity out, everybody who plays in the band doesn't become, I guess, start a band, and everybody who plays the violin and piano or whatever, they don't end up doing that, but they use and they appreciate the arts. So it's about making sure that it's even that art education is taught across the board. And then, of course, technology. When you look at you at the Venture Center, understanding the importance of technology. Because everything now, I mean, you think about cell phones, you think about gaming, you think about going to
Speaking of technology.
technology. How do you turn it off? But I think about arts and technology and making sure that people are lifelong learners. I mean, I know people, including me, that can't even turn on their TV. I mean, you get these fancy TVs, you have no clue how to get from one station to the next.
True.
You know, it's like you end up watching the same station over and over again. So lifelong learning has to start with understanding technology and bringing our generation to the forefront to understand how to use that technology. Otherwise, we're all pretty much lost. But it starts with the arts.
Garbo, I just love all the stuff that you're saying, and I want you to talk to the audience a little bit about your childhood. You're from El Dorado?
I grew up in El Dorado.
So
Arkansas.
how did you get your inspiration, and how did you get your education doing what you're doing today?
Well, my parents, my father was from Arkansas, El Dorado, Arkansas. My mother was from Houston, Texas. They met at Tuskegee University in Tuskegee, Alabama. They both majored in tailoring. So they were tailors, and they got a degree. They were just the most amazing creatives as a tailor, but coming out of that period of time, they could not get a job in their profession. So they pivoted to education. So she became a second grade teacher, he became a principal. So understanding growing up in that household, you don't bring anything home but straight A's. You do nothing but take care of business. I mean, you know, boys and all that, you know, who's to talk to the principal's daughter? That really didn't happen. I had 4 siblings, and so I was the youngest of them all. So I saw everything. So I realized that, you know, we just hang it up and study. I spent a lot of time in the library.
Yep.
I love going to the library. I lived at the library. I have a library card. And then when I got in high school, I got a job at the movie theater. So I worked at the movie theater, the drive-in, and then I worked at every other part of the cinema. So I got to see all the movies. So I guess, you know, that creative spirit was in me. You know, my parents were both creative. They made all of our clothes, everything, coats and everything. It's like, man, can I just go to Sears and buy something like everybody else? Not realizing, you know, the jewel that I had. My mother, she would make patterns, and she was like, well, what do you want on this? How do you want this? And I would say, well, I want this, and she would make it. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And I said, I will never I don't wanna be a teacher. I don't wanna sew clothes. I wanna buy my clothes from the store like everybody else. I'm gonna be a nurse. So when I was in the 6th grade, I determined I was gonna be a candy nurse. And I did that. I volunteered at the hospital. By the time I left, that I had worked in the intensive care unit. They would even let you draw blood. I
Wow.
was like, that is absolutely crazy. But now that I think about it,
Back then.
back then, you know, but you know, I did a good job. And
Yeah.
they knew I knew what I was doing. You know, I was a good student. And I took education seriously. And I ended up going to University of Arkansas, Fayetteville for my undergrad the first 2 years, and then I went to UAMS. I was in the last class that you received your nurse practitioner license when you graduated. So it was a 5-year program.
So what about your siblings? Where are they? And what are they doing today?
My sister, my oldest sister, she worked for Southwestern Bell, you know, went through that whole time. And now she owns a UPS store. Corner right here, and she's
All entrepreneurship.
enjoying that. And my other sister, she is a retired teacher, and she has 6 great grandchildren. So she is a professional Atlanta. She lives between Nashville and Atlanta, and she loves it. And she taught math for 30 or 40 years. So she retired from that. She was a middle school teacher, so you can imagine what that was like. And my brother worked for IBM and graduated. He's an engineer, and now he's retired. And he's gone back to work. I think he's the manager at Walmart.
Wow.
So they're all, everybody's
very accomplished.
Doing their own thing.
Yeah. So going back to your, your journey and your story, you were at the River Market. Now
Yes.
where are you? And how did you get there?
Okay, so we were in the River Market for about 10 years, and it was a great experience being there. I think the second year we were there, it went from Markham to Clinton Avenue. So of course they shut down the whole street, and they put in the tracks for the trolley. I was like, oh my God, we had printed up all this stuff with Markham Avenue. I was like, oh, so we had to redo everything. And it was amazing that we survived it. I mean, just being in that building, in the space, but we did survive it. And
We're gonna have to give it to somebody who knows how to turn it off. He's us over there. It's a Samsung, so we don't know.
Samsung, oh my God.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you. So just turn it off, but I apologize.
No worries, no worries.
But, so back to my Markham. Clinton Avenue
Yes.
story. We survived that period. I think the Museum of Discovery finally opened, and then. Yes, this is absolutely bizarre. Okay, so being in the museum center, we had great neighbors upstairs, and people did support us. We brought in some amazing artists to fill that space. That was also the period of time where I ventured outside of Arkansas, and I started doing art fairs in New York and Atlanta and Chicago. And I was representing these artists, so I could actually go there and work for them. And I really didn't have to take anything for myself. And we set up their space, we sold their work. So we created clientele from all over the United States. So people would come to visit, they would come in. So it really worked out. And the books, the same thing with authors. We, that was the era of England Harris when we was on the New York Times bestseller. So other authors followed suit, got up here. So, that collaborative effort and spirit of knowing people and networking and connecting and, just treating people well always pays off. Treat people the way that you want to be treated, and that's what we try to do in our space.
Why did you leave the River Market?
Well, looking at Archie's office, and he had moved to the doctor's building, and when you looked at the amount of rent we were paying, it was absolutely ridiculous. We could have golden streets. That's like it's time to renew the lease, and that also happened to be the year that my youngest graduated from high school. So I was like, wow, I can just you know, I also go and become an appraiser. And so my focus is, I got my certification in African American art, so that business was picking up. So I was really not going to be so, have a storefront, but just kind of work for people who wanted art as opposed to putting it on the wall and hoping people want art.
Yep.
As I continue to do. But, Archie and I were driving, we happened to be on right in Chester. And we looked at that building, and I think it was a first commercial thing. It was kind of like I think it was a trailer that they ended up, making it look like a real building or whatever. I said, now imagine if we could just build our own space right here. You could be here, I could be here. It could just be an amazing opportunity. So I just said, imagine.
Imagine.
And
That's
so
scary to say,
he
Archie.
imagined it. He went and bought the property and said, okay, that's what you said. So let's just figure it out what you want here. I was like, oh my. So, anyway, so we're there. We're on the corner of Wright and Chester. We're in the heart of the Dunbar community. We're across from Dunbar Middle School, Sue Howland Williams Library, Allison Presbyterian Church. So, I mean, you couldn't ask for better neighbors. We're right on the corner. There's a stoplight right there. That's a marketing tool. They don't put stoplights in intersections that aren't busy. So here you go. So we've been there 10 years.
Wow, congratulations. It's a great space, by the way. How did you grow your audience from where you were in Main Street, or actually 12th Street, and being the right avenue today? How did you grow that audience?
We're on year 33. So we've got, people who grew up coming to our business that have children now. So it's kind of like, just that is just happening. Because I think, we're in 4 different industries. We sell books, we sell picture framing, we sell fine art, we sell decorative art. The programming that we do intersects different people. I mean, you'd be surprised how many people that show up, because now we're on, all the national lists of places to go. When we opened, there were probably 198 Black bookstores. Now there are only 111. Social unrest that happened during the pandemic forced people at home to really see some of the things that were happening in our community, and it forced people to go back and take a look and start reading. And the inequality of what's happening in our culture and other cultures, and the support, it's, really opened some people's eyes that they just want to support a Black-owned business. And of course, we're at the top of the list. They start with Arkansas. We're the first one on the art list,
Yeah.
the first one on the book list. Some people think that we're in Arizona. Arizona are surprised that they're buying merchandise from Arkansas. So during the pandemic, we were shipping out books all over the United States. It was absolutely crazy. People were ordering books for their staff to read, sending it to their homes. So it was just it's been very interesting, how we build that base. But it's very important that we do this for our community. We do this for Central Arkansas to understand the importance of understanding everybody's culture. I got into understanding my culture. There's so many things I didn't know. I thought I was so smart. I was not smart at all. I knew nothing about my history, about my people, about the richness of Black people. We come from all over, and I did not want my children to grow up not knowing anything. So that was really, really why I never decided to go back into a hospital setting or a nursing setting, because I wanted my children to experience the richness of meeting authors and artists. There's always someone in our house. They're like, who's coming this week? The guest room was always busy, because when the artists and authors came, they stayed with us.
Yeah.
I mean, just, I'm parking all these people around. I was like, you just might as well get in the car. It's like, we had a station wagon. And I remember we picked up an artist, and, I had to go to all the different schools. kids, they're like, "Well, how many kids do you have?" But, you know, that's so important to know who you are and also to recognize the importance of other cultures. And to, you know, we're all here together, we all bleed the same. But, you know, if you depend on the media and maybe some of the music that you hear, you might get a little off track on that. So I think it's important to keep that basis in the community, because reading is so important. You know, hold the book and on the Kindle and all that stuff. But, you know, that's progress, technology, but it's nothing like holding a book in your hand. I agree. And a book is one of those things, if you give someone a book that's, you know, people are going through certain things, there's certain books that are just classics. You know, things change, everything goes in cycles. I mean, if you think about what's happening now, and you go back to the pandemic of 1918, the history of it, I mean, you can see, you know, we're just going through a cycle and how we handle it. And if you don't know your history, you're about to repeat the same mistakes. So that's what I'm saying.
Well, what an exposure that you gave your children since they were babies.
Yes.
So tell the audience what your kids are doing now. So they've got Archie, the physician, and you as the nurse, but also you know, a artist promoting art and literature.
A patron.
A patron.
We are patrons of the art.
Okay.
If somebody has to appreciate it, because I cannot sing, I can dance, play the piano. If I drew a picture, you can say, really? And the same with our Archie is pretty, you know, he can play the piano, he can do, I mean, he's like, you know, he's a man of all. He can do just about build something. I call him Mr. Lego. He's always trying to build something. So, but our children, let's see. So my oldest boy, my oldest son, he's in New York, in LA, he's a filmmaker. So he got a degree in the University of Arkansas in marketing, and he worked for Columbia University in the alumni affairs office, working for that. But that's just not, it wasn't his passion, so he ventured out. So that's what he's doing now. So we'll see what happens. I told him we get to the Grammy, what is it, the Academy Award, the Oscars?
Yes, we'll be there.
We'll be there to support you. My daughter Anna, she is working, now she has the degree in, she has a master's in arts history. And she's always been there with me, so she works with me, but she works at the University of Houston, she's a counselor. And she enjoys helping people. I think she should have been an educator, but I think that push for the arts and all that, she kind of moved over into the arts, not really wanting to do that. She just said, that's the natural thing, because that's what I know, instead of what I really wanted to do, so I feel a little guilty about that, but not really, because somebody's going to take this over. So
Right.
she would be the smart, she would probably be the one to do it. And my son, Archie the fourth, he's an entrepreneur, he has his own reservoir supply company, so he does office supplies, building his business. And then my youngest daughter is, she went into medicine, so she's finishing up her residency in emergency medicine. So they're busy. They're all their own people.
They are,
You know,
they are.
their own experience.
So talk to the entrepreneurs on Zoom and in the room about, you know, some of the tips that you would like to provide them. You know, you and I had breakfast one day, and you were talking about like some of the things that entrepreneurs need to know, and some of the tips that you would like to communicate at this session.
Well, I think that what you have to realize is don't be afraid to change. You know, if something's not working, fix it. You know, if something doesn't work, stop doing it. Surround yourself with younger people that are smarter than you, in a sense, in terms of understanding technology and how all that works. And, you know, we've had years and years of interns that have come and worked with us throughout their college careers and gone on to do other things, but they work for us part-time. Because it is easy for them to come and enjoy the experience, because it was always important to me to realize this is not, you're not gonna be here for the rest of your life. You may be here for 3 years. When you got a test, you got a test. Take care of business, take care of you, and when it comes time for you to take care of you, that you will. So I think as a person in business, you must appreciate your employees. And my employees work with me, not for me. You know, we are family. I mean, my assistant, I guess my right hand, she's been with me for almost 31 years.
Wow.
And she's grown with me. She can do, I mean, it's just a matter of understanding the business and understanding what is your quality of life, what are you looking for. My framer, he's been with me, he's actually the brother of the first framer. And he's been with me for almost 20 years. So the basis of my business is, having, and I have a lot of people that just like what I do, they volunteer, they come and help with events because retail is retail. You understand seasons, you understand what you do and all these different things that we do. We have people that have interest with, they don't want to work there. I would say that look at our numbers, we don't make a lot of money. I mean, because all the money we make goes to other people because we are a platform to pay other people. And like I said, you buy a book, for a bookshelf, you gotta buy some books. So it's never, that whole thing that, retailers, you gotta make a lot of money. That's, you gotta be passionate about what you do and think about, would I do this for free? And I have done this for free for a long time, but you say, what is freedom? And understanding, managing your own time, I mean, that's priceless. There's no W-2 form that can give me the freedom that I have in my life where I can move around and do what I need to do. And I won't say that there haven't been sacrifices. And I feel like having a husband that is a business partner, but he doesn't put thumbs on, you can't do this, it's not gonna work. He's like, try it. And he's always been very supportive into the arts. And so I think that that's been one of the blessings in my life is to have a partner who's been supportive, taking care of business and at the same time not being critical. I mean, he's critical, but he's not critical to the point where you can't do what you need to do.
If the entrepreneurs don't have an Archie,
They don't have an art.
so Archie is your supporter, the person that pushes you, the person that also has ideas for you, but he also has some resources that was available to you. And what if an entrepreneur doesn't have an Archie? Talk to us a little bit about what some of your pointers
I
are.
would say that if you have a good idea, you go to a person who's doing what you're doing. Learn from them. Help them grow and then move out and figure out how to do it on your own. Develop a relationship with a bank. I mean, understanding, I've worked with the bank that I think I've outgrown the bank. They changed names several times, but I have the same bank. It's about understanding how to manage credit and how to manage, even though Archie does support me, but I take care of my own space. He doesn't pay any of my bills. Like personally, these are paid by me. You have to make good decisions on how you manage your money. That's the key. Have a good accountant to explain to you what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, looking at your numbers, understanding where your business lies and where you can tighten up certain things. Having a lawyer, a good lawyer to make sure that you're legally doing the right thing and making sure we hadn't really needed a lawyer in our business, but having someone to keep you on point, because you can realize you have a team of people that keep you on point. I work with so many different people that I realize this is not my lane, but I can ask you. And just like if you need something, you can ask me. So, having a good network of people, that's very important. And realizing what is important to you in terms of your quality of life.
So what's next for Garbo?
Well, I think that I've got to get my technology back together. So that's one of the things that I think that my children have hindered me because like I said, you know, the computer age and all that, they were teenagers growing up and they did everything. You know, they did all the emails, all this and that. Then they grew up and they were like, how dare you? You know, so I think that that's important for me to get that, you know, that lifelong learning so that I won't be left behind. And since I think that let's continue the path. I think there's so many artists that still I haven't shown. And, you know, people come to me all the time and just, you know, be that platform for people. I think that I found where I'm gonna be. I don't think I'll move from the Dunbar community because that's a community, a rich community that needs to be brought back to where it was. I mean, the school in Dunbar, middle school now, there's a lot of work that needs to be done on that school, in that school. So to make sure that our community, you know, to work in our community that I work in. So, you know, doing that, continuing with arts advocacy. You know, so, I mean, it's just so much to do.
And you are busy, and you just keep doing it.
Bring more people on, you know, to lift people up. So,
That's awesome. I just love the story. I love talking to you. I love the inspiration. Do we have any questions from the audience, from online? Becky, do you have any questions, or do you have any questions? Go ahead.
So, thank you. This was. So earlier you talked about how much of an in-person relationship driven business is. And I'm wondering, when you pivot to so much technology, has it changed? Is it still primarily based on relationships, or are you seeing it sort of start to splinter where you're losing relationships and everything is just more about access online?
well, I think that no doubt the web has changed how people do business, but I still think that if you call me and you tell me that you see a piece online and it's X amount of dollars, I'm not just gonna ship you that piece of work. We're gonna have a conversation. I'm gonna have to call you back, you're gonna have to call me back. You know, I'm gonna have to, you know, delve into make sure you're really real, because there are a lot of people out there scamming and all that kind of thing. But I do think that it's still one-on-one, it's still that relationship that you make with that customer. And, you know, we get people that, you know, that refer us from other people, and, you know, they say, we saw you in New York, whatever, however many years, and we just looked you up, and here you are, we looked on your website, we want a piece of art, we're finally ready, you know, because you might see someone, you know, 10 years ago, they weren't ready, and now they're ready, and they're ready for help. So, you know, I think that technology has only helped me in that sense, but it's still about that relationship.
Is it the same with the artists?
Same, definitely. Artists, you know, a lot of them do sell their own work, and they do very well selling work online. But I mean, it's if you've been given that God-given gift with your hands to create art, you should spend your time doing that. Let somebody else sell it, and when they get to that realization that they don't have to make every dime, and they're willing to let someone help them, then you can see kind of like a light bulb, that they can free themselves, they can make more. If they just let somebody, you know, this is your lane, this is my lane, let's work together. Because like I said, I don't keep you from the artist. I want you to know the artist. I want that relationship to grow. So it's no secret who I sell the work to.
Garbo, I know how involved and interested you are in art education, having the arts presented in schools and to children as they grow. So what is your take right now? You've been very involved in that and involved at state level. So what is your current assessment of where are we in Arkansas with the state of art education for our students?
I think we're not where we should be. I think that there's still a lot of learning to be, I guess the people in that space is so much going on. They are maybe forgetting where where it's really important. You know, you get mixed up in paperwork and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's time for them to take a step back and just, you know, stop and look and see what's really important. So I think that it can be fixed and it will be fixed. I think it's just a cycle of just finding the right people to be in the right position to make it happen. So it's just a matter, that's why arts advocacy is so important to say, you know, we're missing this, we're missing this, we're missing this. You know, the legislators are doing an arts technology boot camp, and they're going around the state of Arkansas doing an inventory of what's here and what's not here, and you know, making sure we keep our students and young people here. Why, when you graduate, you have to leave? You know, I understand go fly away and, you know, do your thing, but you should be able to work in Arkansas. It's a beautiful state. I mean, look at what's happening in Northwest Arkansas. Look at what one museum has done. And every part of Arkansas has a story. The Delta has a story. Every part of Arkansas, we're a rich historical state, and there's arts everywhere in the state. So just taking advantage and using that as an example to come back and say, let's educate this, let's stay home and, you know, feel that history and bring technology so people can figure out. We got to get broadband even. Broadband even across the state, and education even across the state. Does that sound like a politician?
Scott, I think you had a question.
I gotta say that you have a book, you just wrote it, it's the story of RJ Garbo. And that's, I mean, it's fantastic.
It is.
In terms of the way you described it. And it's kind of it's a dream scenario, in my opinion. You know, I've watched it through my mom and seen what you all done. And as you were taking it, I forgot the 12 Street story.
Yeah.
But my question to you is this, and I think you kind of touched on it a little bit. How do we, in a small community, get that kid that has that talent, that vision, that capability? How do we make sure that we find a way to encourage that and get them to the place that they can really, you know, utilize their God-given talent?
Well, I think it's about being intentional. If you see a kid that's not doing what they're supposed to do, they're acting up, then you have to sit them down and find out what is it that you're really interested in. You know, take the time to take them to a play, make them read a book, take them to the symphony, take them to, some light bulb is gonna come on at some point, because everybody in the basis of humanity is the arts. And we all have a creative gene. We just gotta figure out what it is that makes us happy. So that's the key, is to figure out what is sparking that kid that will make them happy. Forget about the negativity and say, you know, sports, you know, that's changed a lot of people's lives. You know, but the arts have changed more by far than sports. Exposure. Everything's about exposure. You know, it is free.
That's
I
right.
mean, all of the stuff is free. I mean, you can go to the library, is free. Galleries are free. I mean, all of the things that we take for granted. I mean, how many people have a library card? You know, it started from the beginning. The library card is more important than a driver's license. If you don't have a library card, you don't take your kids, don't send your kids to the library. Take them, let them see you reading. Turn off the TV. You know, turn off that phone. You know, don't eat dinner with your children with a phone. Cook with your kids, get a cookbook. Let's make some stuff. You know, we gotta teach our kids, you know, fast food and all that is nothing, it's doing nothing but killing us. And so we've got to teach our kids how to eat well, because if you don't eat well, you're not gonna be able to take in anything if you're not eating the proper food. So we gotta really look at nutrition and look at how we're feeding our kids. I mean, when you go to sleep, you see that commercial 4 for $5, biscuits and all that, and just drive through and get 4 and throw them in the back seat. We'll get up 30 minutes earlier, fix breakfast. Make them fix breakfast. I fix breakfast for my parents every morning. It's like 6 o'clock, ding, ding, ding. But I fix breakfast every morning for my parents. My kids, they had breakfast at home. You know, so it's just those little things that make a difference, because if you take time to eat with your family, talk to your family, you can find out what they're interested in. Realize everybody's not gonna like the same thing. And it's okay to agree to disagree. Figure that piece out.
Well, it's been an awesome evening. It really has.
Started out shaking.
It started out shaking. Yes.
I'll stand on the other side.
I'm not really sure where Garbo you went to, but she went to the have no idea
I
what
was
you
on the
want.
other side. I got on the wrong elevator.
Okay,
That was
okay. So follow Garbo. She is on Facebook and,
not me.
no, I mean,
it is me, but it's
your
not me.
business, your
My
business,
business,
yes.
yes.
Follow her on Facebook, sign up for her newsletter. She has all kinds of wonderful programming at her gallery and her bookstore. And if you're an entrepreneur, she talked about having a relationship with a banker and an attorney and, and an accountant. We have that relationship and it is free. We do free consultations for the entrepreneurs out there. Right, Lindsay and Jennings is our partner. Frost Accounting Firm is our partner. Simmons Bank is our partner. If you don't have those relationships, come to the Venture Center. Let us introduce you to these folks. It is for free. They want to help entrepreneurs thrive in this community. So please follow us as well. We're at venturecenter.co. And thank you, Garbo, so much. And good night. Oh, we have some more food, please. We have a lot